Hi there, welcome to Flogan Dreams. This is going to be my eyeshadow palette review for October. Welcome to everyone watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today I'm going to be reviewing 7 new to me eyeshadow palettes that were either gifted to me or bought by me through Monolith. So in case you don't know, Monolith is a EU-based website where you can easily find a lot of different indie brands that otherwise are going to be a lot more expensive to buy if you were to buy a single order from some of these brands. And they very kindly gifted me a couple of these, but I also bought some of these with my own money. I do have a code with them, so if you are looking to get 5% off of your next order, then you can find that in the description box, and I will put it here as well. I have been affiliated with them for some time now, and yeah, they sometimes send me things, but I do still also use the website myself, just in case you were wondering how I got my hands on all of these. So what will be featured today is the Crown Legacy, which is their collab with Glaminatrix. Then another Glaminatrix palette, which is the Bonfire and the Terramoons Ophiuchus. These 3 were sent to me in PR. And then the other 4 I have for you are all bought with my own money, which was the Dieverune Cosmetics Magnetic Mineralia. Then we also have the Smoulder by Cosmic Beauty, the Muse palette by Cosmic Beauty, and the Unoriginal Nudes by Bella Beauté Bar. So let me talk to you about these eyeshadow palettes. I will be inserting swatches for you as well as show you any eye looks that I've done with these just for completion's sake, and one of these is on my eyes today as well. So let me get to chatting about these eyeshadow palettes. So let me start with the thing that they sent me towards the end of September when this first launched. Monolith has already done a new drop since then, so in October their October launch is already up. So if you were looking to find anything new, I do believe that this Glaminatrix collab was limited edition, so it's sort of like while stocks last. And I was surprised to see that this is actually a really beautiful palette. We have some neutrals here, some greens, and then some purpley blue shades. And this was really, really pretty. I do think though that this is not the same formula as some of my favorite palettes by Glaminatrix. Glaminatrix does some really beautiful things. I love their Barely Basics. I love the Sugar and Spice. What's the other one? The Timeless Tones I really enjoy as well. But this has a different size pan, and I definitely think it shows you therefore as well in the way the palette is laid out that this is not the same formula. Glaminatrix though is really open about this. They're not trying to hide that there's a different formula in this and also in the Bonfire. I do think that this formula is closer to what's in the Bonfire than what I find in these smaller, they're dime size. They're really small pans. These are a little bit bigger. These look like your standard eyeshadow sizes, and I did really enjoy the looks I did with this. However, I have seen people do looks with this on their Instagram because when this dropped, they were showcasing all of the looks that everybody was doing with these. And I'm not sure if everybody else's videos are and images were just incredibly edited, because I saw some looks that looked really vibrant and I could not get the shadows to look really vibrant on me. So maybe there's just something wrong with me, I don't know, but I definitely saw a lot of people getting these really vibrant green and purple looks, and I'm like, it's a very muted palette to me, which is what I enjoy. I mean, it looks really soft and pretty once it's on the lids, but some of the really impactful eyeshadow looks that I've seen people do with this, I wasn't able to get that, because for me, there's quite a lot of gray in a lot of these shades, and I definitely felt like the mattes in here were better than the shimmers. The shimmers all have the same sort of texture to them, whereas with Glaminatrix you often get different textures in their shimmers. In here, I really feel they've tried to I wouldn't say cut cost, but the shimmers in here are beautiful, but they are all the same. They are really good metallic shimmers though, but if you know anything about Glaminatrix, you know they do some foily things, and they very often have these topper things in there as well. This palette doesn't have that. It just mattes with metallic foils. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But this therefore doesn't feel like it's a very current palette to me. Like, I feel like nowadays we get different things from brands, and this just feels like it could have been made 2 or 3 years ago. That's just the way I feel about this palette. It is absolutely stunning though. It has some beautiful shades in. These are my kinds of shades. We all know that. So when I opened this up, because when they sent it to me, I hadn't even seen the inside of the palette. I was sent this so early that like the day they announced the palette for sure on their socials was the day that I could already also post about this. But in my images, the palette looks really muted because it is. In my swatches, the palette looks incredibly muted because that's what it looks like to me. And a lot of the images I have seen of this online, it looks really vibrant. And I felt that that was a little bit misleading. I never edit my videos. I just use the light. Like whenever I take videos also for this video, or what am I saying? Whenever I take images of my palettes, I always use natural lighting. So the images you see in this video going up were all taken just with natural lighting. There is no extra editing going on or anything like that. And I definitely feel that with a lot of the other images I've seen of this, there has been some editing and there has been like some added saturation to also the looks that people have done. I don't feel like the representation of what this palette gives in real life is what I was able to see online, just so you know. So if you have seen other people create content with this, then please bear that in mind. To me, it's just really beautiful. These are very wearable shades. It's a colorful palette, but it's muted colorful. So it's sort of giving you color, but without it going overboard. And for someone with fair skin, where things that are too vibrant can also look a little bit stark and weird and muddy on me, this I find is just a really beautiful palette. So if you think my pictures look different, that's probably why. But yeah, I definitely think that this has a lot going for it. I just wished there was a little bit more like difference in the shimmer textures, and therefore I think the mattes in here are better than the actual shimmers were. That's just the way I feel. Because as beautiful as the shimmers are, I did feel they were a little bit difficult to pick up with a brush, but I had no issues with this creasing or like the wear time of this. It was a beautiful palette for sure. I also don't really think it's super unique in my makeup collection. I have plenty of blue, green, purple color stories, even with some neutrals in. So in the long term, I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep this palette around for, but I do think it's beautiful. But yeah, if it was a limited edition, unless, because I think Glaminatrix posted that they only had so many units left in stock, and if it was gone, it was gone. I don't know what the stock of this is like on Monolith though, so if you still want to get it, maybe through there. Let's continue with Glaminatrix, because the Bonfire was a bit of a surprise to me, because I knew that this was going to be a different formula, because that's what they had advertised. And this wasn't something that was initially on my wish list. Like when it was announced, I was like, yes, it's pretty, but I have other things like it. It's got these vibrant oranges in. I'm not sure I'm gonna like it. It has a really beautiful cool tone quad, and it has this really beautiful green quad in. So that's sort of how I did the looks with this palette, is that I stuck to the different quads. But this was so beautiful. I really liked it. And here, even though I feel like this formula is very similar to the Crown Legacy, I feel we do get a little bit more interest in the shimmer shades. The only shade I didn't love was this green shimmer, but that was mainly after I tried to like wash my brushes and wash my face at the end of the day. It stained. It stained my lids. It stained my brush. If you don't, like, I don't really mind it if that happens, but I know some people get really, like, antsy if shadows stain their lids. That's not an allergic reaction. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that there is a pigment that transfers to your skin a little bit more and that it stays put, and you may have to, like, wash your face 3 times for it to disappear. So yeah, that's definitely what happened to me with this green shimmer here, but everything else was beautiful, and I wore this look in a video I filmed a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of people were saying how good I looked in orange. It was those shades. So now that I have it, I'm super happy with it. And I do think I like this a little bit better than the Crown Legacy. It is a little bit different compared to other things I have in my makeup collection, and the formula is just as good, if not even better, than the Crown Legacy is. So even though this is a different formula from the usual Glaminatrix stuff, I still think it's as good, and wear time was great on this. No creasing, easy to apply. This was a lovely, lovely product for sure, and I can't wait to play with this one again. This I feel a little bit more into minds about. This is by Terramoons. It's the Ophiuchus. I finally figured out how to say it, and this is also beautiful. In a way, it's very similar to what the Bonfire has to offer. It also has like an orange and then some greens, some teals, and a couple of like cooler tone neutrals thrown in. So I really do enjoy this. But there was just something about this, like you can see, like there's this chunk missing in this like lightest shade, and also some of the other shimmers. These were like, when you put a brush in, you almost like dig it out of the pan. Some of these are really creamy, and some of these also have like a multi-chrome shift to them. I did really like that, and I did really enjoy the way this looked in the looks that I did. I'm not knocking it down for that. But color story wise, I felt this didn't quite come together for me. It was beautiful. I did some really stunning looks with it, and it's a perfect fall color story as well. I can't knock it for that reason. But there was just something about this. Wear time with these weren't great. They were a little bit creamy almost. And that always means it kind of creases and bunches up into my lids. So I don't love it for that reason. Is it beautiful? Yes. I love the design of the palette as well. And I think this is the first time I've tried a Terramoons palette. I have tried some of their singles before, so I know they can do some really good shadow, but it's not making me think like, oh, now I want all of their palettes or anything like that. I think I like it. It's beautiful. It has shades I really enjoy, but there's, especially in the shimmer formula, I was like, I wanted a little bit more there. I wanted a little bit more there. And you'll see that that's actually sort of the conclusion of a lot of these palettes here today. I felt it with the Crown Legacy, I feel it with this, and I'm feeling it with some of the other palettes that are still coming up too. So I think the most successful one where I liked every single look I did was the Magnetic Mineralia by Dieverune Cosmetics, but still I'm not like over the moon excited for this palette. It is beautiful though. It's the most cool toned offering I have to show you today. As you can see, there's loads of like cooler tone neutrals in here, some pops of like yellowish green, and then some pops of purple here as well. It's mainly a neutral palette, I feel, but with some pops of interesting colors in there. It's just stunning. I think I ended up doing a look with each row here. So I did a purpley look, I did this green tone look, and then I did a full like cool tone neutral look. Really beautiful, some really good crease shades in here as well. But again, like with the Terramoons, the shimmers in here didn't wow me in terms of performance once on the lids. It was beautiful. I really enjoyed the looks I did with these. Looks-wise, this was my favorite for sure. Like, I can definitely see myself using this long-term. I like going back to it loads because of the shades that are in here. I feel it's a neutral palette, but it still, like, has an interesting take to it. So there's a lot in here that I really enjoy. But again, wear time throughout the day for a lot of the shimmers that were in here. They bunched up. It just didn't look the best long term for me anyway. So I did really enjoy it. I'm again not over the moon like, ooh, I now need every Dieverune Cosmetics palette on the market today. It's beautiful, but I feel like I'm gonna stick to this. I also have the Witch of the Wildflower, so I'm just gonna pick and choose from them what I enjoy. And I feel like with the Witch of the Wildflower, I had the same sort of comment where I was like, there's a couple of shimmers here that feel almost too emollient and they don't really stick to my lids all that well. And I felt the same way with this one here. But the biggest offender is my Bella Beauty Bar Unoriginal Nudes. And this is, let's just say it, a stunning neutral palette. If you want a neutral palette, but you want it with the quality of an indie brand like Shimmer Formula, then this is going to be totally up your street. But I struggled. I really struggled to make this work for me. And it wasn't down to the mattes. It wasn't down to most of the shimmers. This is a stunning eyeshadow palette. It's got everything you want in terms of neutrals. You get cool tones, you get warm tones, you get rosy tones, you get true neutrals. It's got a bit of everything. It's trying to please everybody. And with that, I feel like it's doing not enough of what I like. And it's especially these two shimmers here, this one and this one, that I used all over the lid in two of the looks that I really did not enjoy working with. This was borderline the same, but it's a little less flaky and a little less emollient, so it was easier to work with. What I didn't like about this palette is how the shades layered together. And I don't know about you or how you do your eyeshadow, but one of the things you want with an eyeshadow palette is that you can like mix and match things and you can blend things together and make things look seamless. Not with this. The mattes in here are stunning. They are so good. Buttery smooth, super pigmented, easy to use. They don't skip. The mattes in here truly shine, but it's the shimmers that let it down. And like I said, these two really flaky shimmers that it has, you pick it up with a brush, all you see on the brush are flakes, and when you use your brush to apply it, the flakes will sort of explode and release the pigment, I felt, and that's how you got a semi-even tone. But these were so bad at emphasizing texture, it was just not a good look. And I like to use my fingers to help smooth things out because the oils and heat of your finger can really help with the application of a lot of indie shimmers. But with these, I would apply it and then it would just be too, like, it would just be too much. I could like feel it sitting on my lid, like my lid would feel heavy. So then I would go in with a blending brush thinking, if I now blend it out a little bit, I will be able to shear it out and make it feel less heavy and sticky on my lids. But that didn't happen because it barely moved. So I really struggled applying those shades with brushes and then being able to like blend it into my crease shade to make it look a little bit more diffused. I could only put these all over the lid because the minute I tried to manipulate them into different places on my lids, it just didn't work. And I felt that like these two were the biggest two offenders, but it happened with all of the shimmers in this palette. And I used every single shade in these palettes. And while they are stunning shimmers, like they're really beautiful, but I think if you have like, if you're like 16 and you've got super smooth lids, this is going to work fine for you. But on me, like it skipped. The minute I started, I tried to blend out this gold shade. It was a beautiful shade, but it was just a little bit too like concentrated in one area, and I just wanted to make it look a little bit more diffused going up towards my brow bone, and it skipped. It started to like get lines in the shade. And I was like, but I don't want eyeshadow I cannot blend. You know, I wanted to be able to blend at like as a bare minimum. So that was my main issue here. And then what also happened, I tried using this dark brown as a liner over this shade. It was so chunky that the line I created looked jagged just because it kept skipping over the little bits of the shimmer eyeshadow. It was so difficult to make it look like smooth and like a clean line. I put this one on the lower lash line and it was so dark and intense. I was like, that's a little too much for the lower lash line. So it was almost like too much for me anyways. I mean, if you like this sort of thing, again, I'm not going to knock it for that because I know a lot of people like indie brands for those flaky shimmers. But for me, with the shades I get in here, and then I look at something like my Natasha Denona I Need a Nude, or my Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes, which has, like both of those palettes, have a lot of the same shades in as in this palette. And it's so much easier for me to work with those shadows. And I think those palettes were also like as expensive or maybe even cheaper than this. I think this was like 75 euros. So, I mean, Natasha Denona is like 70. You get fewer shades because this is 20 and Natasha Denona gives you 15. But I'd rather have that Natasha Denona formula that I can build and layer and work with. I was surprised at how long it wore though. I wore the silvery look I did with like the pinks. I filmed some videos with it last week wearing that shade, and from a distance it looks fine, I feel, but close up it just looked so chunky, and I was so afraid that, like some of the other palettes I just told you about, that it would like bunch up in my crease. That didn't happen. It's almost like these have some sort of like glitter glue in them, so they stick down really well, but that's probably why they're so difficult to manipulate with a brush, because they just stick down, like it's just stuck to your lid, which is good because with these really emollient shades, you don't want it to bunch up. But if the trade-off is that I can use my finger and like tap a shadow back in if it's like the other shades I just mentioned, I don't mind doing that. Like, oh, it's a little bit creased and I'll just like tap it in. I do that with my concealer halfway through the day as well. I don't mind doing that. But with this, if upon first application I cannot manipulate it in a way that I want it to make it look wearable on my lids, I don't think I'll enjoy it very much. So for me, this is the first time I've tried a Bella Beauté bar palette. That was a bit of a letdown to me. I was super excited for this. Maybe that's why I felt a little disappointed with it, because this is one of my favorite indie brands currently. Bella Beauté Bar makes some amazing things. And ever since trying the Poison Garden last year, every single palette I've tried by them, I've loved. Like, loved hard. Like, you've seen me mention the Poison Garden so much in some of my recent videos. I love that thing to pieces. And then to try this and know how much I like neutrals and how many neutrals I've tried, and then just feel like it's not giving what I want it to give, and that I know the brand can do as well. Again, maybe they've like done something differently with the formula here, I'm not sure, but this was just a bit of a letdown to me. Again, if you look at the pictures, I'm sure if you look at the pictures that it's going to look stunning in the images of the looks that I've done with that. But in reality, it was just such a chore to get them there, to make them even look wearable. So there's a bit of a trade-off there, I feel. And then finally, my two Cosmic Beauty palettes. And I'm going to have to be very honest, there were a lot of palettes in this review this month, and I really wanted to squeeze these in as well, but I only managed to do one look each with these. I did wanted to do a look for each palette because the Muse has been out for a little bit longer, and I wanted to see how this compared to Smoulder, which is one of their newest releases. I believe it's not even their newest one anymore. They've already announced a new palette as well. But I wanted to sort of be able to compare and contrast, and with the Muse, I have just found that I've done a look and I've tried to like put some shades together. It's not really giving me the shades that I would want to put together in a look. So I really am drawn to this like olivey sort of green shade, so I ended up using that in the crease. And then I really like the look of this, but it just didn't really have that strong of a shimmer. And these felt a little bit thin and thinner compared to what the Smoulder has to offer. So I can definitely confirm that the older like palette formula from Cosmic Beauty is definitely a little bit different compared to what they're doing now. Both in the mattes and in the shimmers, I felt the Smoulder by far outperformed the Muse from the shades I've tried. Because I wanted to make sure I gave it a good enough whirl, I did end up using these two shades for the crease. I used this one all over the lid, and then I used the two purples on the lower lash line, and I ended up using this in the inner corner. So a good 6 shades that I've tried, and those are the shades I would gravitate towards the most. Like, those are the palettes or the shades in the palette that really draw my eye. I wanted to stay away from like the greens because it was like I already have a green look like that. But yeah, this is a palette I do want to get back to. I don't think that in December I will have a lot of new palettes to review because there's currently nothing really on my wish list. So I'm going to be dependent on if or whether Monolith has anything new coming into stock for November for my December review. So I figured I could just squeeze in and do like a couple of extra looks towards the end of the year with this and the Smoulder, so you can still see all the looks with all of the shades. But there was just not enough time this month to be able to film the video for the review and do all the looks, but I did manage to do one, and I liked it well enough. It was really pretty, but I definitely think that they've definitely stepped up their game ever since they did the Muse. But I still wanted this because it was a color story that still very much pulled on my heartstrings, and I mentioned several times that this was a palette I still wanted to get my hands on. And so many of you were saying, well, you need to get it now this summer because this is the final time they've restocked it. So I can definitely tell why they are getting rid of this if you know like what they're doing now, but I do think it is pretty, and it has some more unique shades in as well. So I can't wait to play with the rest of the palette, but I have definitely done a look now where I feel like, yeah, those were like the shades that really drew my attention when I opened this palette for the first time. But I do feel, like I did with the Serenity, which was the predecessor for this one, that it's a little bit disjointed. Some of the shades don't go together as well as I would want them to because they're a bit haphazard and all over the place. So I definitely need to play around with this a little bit more, but formula-wise, I can tell you that it doesn't hold a candle compared to what the Smoulder has to offer. So similarly to the Muse, I've only done one look with the Smoulder, and that's the look I'm wearing today. It was like the final thing I could do before squeezing it into this video, you could say. But this, you can just tell already from the way these shades look in the palette. Like there's just a little bit more attention to detail with this. The mattes blend a lot more easily. The shimmers are really beautiful. And I ended up focusing on these 6 shades, and then I pulled this one in to blend this one out. So these 2 are in the crease. I ended up using this all over the lid. It's super pretty. It's like this taupey silvery shimmer, and then in some lighting, like when I was doing my makeup this morning and there was a burst of sunlight all of a sudden, and you could see these additional like extra dimensional little flecks of something like almost holographic to it. It was very special, but these don't feel gritty or like glitter heavy, and they're going on really well, and these did blend like compared to the Unoriginal Nudes. I ended up using these 2 on the lower lash line, and I'm not sure why, but I thought that this was going to be like a lot deeper than, like, this is a pretty deep shade, so I thought this was going to be deep as well. It's not, so I was a bit confused by that. And then the black is really nice. It doesn't look that black in the pan, I find, but as a bit of liner, it works really beautifully. And then I just popped this in the inner corner. So that's the look I ended up doing with this. And like I already mentioned, I can definitely tell that they've upped their game. This formula feels a lot smoother, a lot more like a lot easier to work with compared to the Muse. The shimmers layer a lot better. The shimmers are a lot more impactful than in the Muse palette, and the mattes are just a lot more blendable. This is another palette I do want to revisit before the end of the year, like the Muse. If there isn't that much for me to review in December, I'm going to be going back to this. I think for Christmas, this is going to be so great for doing holiday looks with. And that's also why I'm wearing a red lip today, because I was like, you know what? I didn't wear a lot of makeup all week, and I couldn't wear lipstick all week because I had a cold sore. It's still healing a little bit. Like there's still a little bit of like a scab here, but it's like the cold sore itself is gone. Like I will no longer be contaminating my lipsticks. And I was like, I haven't been able to wear lipstick all week. Now I'm busting out a shade that I truly love. This is Velvet Jazz by Lisa Eldridge. But yeah, I think the Smoulder is really pretty. It's definitely up my street. It's cool toned enough as well. Like, I just really like that we're getting all of these like different like tones of brown in here and a couple of grays thrown in. I definitely think there is also going to be enough like deeper shimmers in here. I just can't wait to play with more of this palette. I like the addition of these like rosy tones we get up here. Some stunning things. I haven't even played with any of the duochromes or the multichromes yet, but the shimmers in here seem to be really special and something different, and still a very easy to work with formula as well. So I like this a little bit better than I do the Unoriginal Nudes. I can definitely see myself going back to this one, and then if I compare it to Unoriginal Nudes, I'm like, not so sure about that. But yeah, the Smoulder I think is beautiful, and I think it has some stunning shades in as well, but I do need to use it and use like every single pen in the palette. But it is the Cosmic Beauty formula that I've come to know them for, and that I love about them a lot. So the Smoulder is very successful for me indeed. And that's it. Those were all of the eyeshadow palettes I wanted to review for you in this video today. Thank you so very much for watching. Let me know in a comment down below if you've tried any of these. Is there anything here that you're hoping to get? I will be back with a new review in November. I have 4 palettes to test out then, so not as much as I did now, so I can take a little bit more time for some of these things as well. So thanks so much for being here, and then I really hope to see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.